Hello there and welcome back to another review. Today we're going to be having a look at the classic Yuen Biao vehicle Righting Wrongs, or as I always remembered it growing up, Above the Law. This is a classic Yuen Biao vehicle in so many ways. Directed by Corey Yuen, along with starring Cynthia Rothrock here. Talking of Corey Yuen, I really do wish they would release more of his body of work as a director, because he's output into the martial arts, kung fu, Hong Kong action cinema sort of outlet. He's got a fantastic body of work behind him. It'd be nice if they released some of Corey Yun's work, giving it some of that more special updated Blu-ray treatment. I'm looking at films such as Bodyguard from Beijing, Ninja in the Dragon's Den, My Father the Hero. As I say, the guy's directed some great martial arts movies. Now, if you aren't sure who Corey Yuen is, he's in Eastern Condors. He's also in Dance of the Drunken Mantis, directed by Yuen Ping, if you've seen their movies. I mean, I will say this movie is probably one of, if not more, of the wider known Yuen Biao vehicles that people have seen. Here he is on his own. He hasn't got his other two brothers with Jackie Chan and Sammo Hung supporting him, because Yuen Biao very much, and rightly so, wanting to, as all the brothers did, I'm sure, wanting to get out of that shackles of sort of always being associated with one another. I mean, Sammo was established, Jackie was established, but I think Yuen Biao was sort of, sometimes must have felt like he was always riding their tails a little bit, or wanting to have the opportunity to do films on his own, to show what he can do in his own right and his solo work. And Righting Wrongs, Above the Law, is a perfect example of that, and it's a fantastic Yuen Biao vehicle. Powerhouse performance from Melvin, Wong as well. Great performance from Cynthia Rothrock, and the whole film really does work, and it is a very good action movie. I say there's actually two endings to the movie that were shot, which after the first ending tested poorly, Cynthia Rothrock had to come back, and I think she was filming China O'Brien at the time, directed by Enter the Dragon director Robert Klaus. I think she was shooting China O'Brien, and this ending that they had tested poorly, so she had to come back to sort of reshoot the ending, because Corey Yuen wanted to change it. So it's at this time when Yuen was really wanting to show what he can do in his own movies, getting out of that Free Dragons territory. Yuen, whilst maybe not as popular as Sammo and Jackie, he was still like the third biggest action star in Hong Kong, right? I mean, don't get me wrong, Yuen was doing well. Yuen was, like I say, you had Jackie, you had Sammo, who were quite, very huge stars. Sammo making his sort of foot in the industry a bit earlier than Jackie Chan. But Yuen was sort of always sort of behind them. He was like I say, the third biggest action star in Hong Kong is not bad. That's not bad going at all. But I think Yuen always felt like he might have been overshadowed a little bit. I think there was definitely more that Yuen wanted to prove, and that he could do, like I say, in his own right. I mean, if you look at, there's quite a great body of work from Yuen Biao that needs to be. A lot of his solo films are very good. When I mean solo films, I just mean films where there's no sort of Jackie Chan or Sammo Hung involved, where it is Yuen just doing his own thing. So, Golden Harvest were, the company that produced this and everything, they were very happy to back this, because they wanted to give Yuen the chance to sort of get out of the shackles of what have made him, may have been restricting him a bit. Yuen had done well and given them good films and good box office results, so Golden Harvest were more than happy to sort of finance and, back this film. The film plays very much like a showcase and showreel for Yuen Biao's talents. Melvin Wong, as I mentioned, is brilliant here as the baddie, our main antagonist, and the combination of this performance along with Yuen Biao's, the presence of veterans like Wu Ma and Roy Chiao cropping up in there, and the direction of Corey Yuen, you got Cynthia Rothrock, making the film a really enjoyable Hong Kong action with some great set pieces that really do work throughout the movie. It's interesting to note the film like this, and with On the Run, Yuen Biao plays both films quite seriously. Like, his character in this is not He's not overly comedic in nature, his character, especially like regards to the subject matter and, the notion of the film. And it's not a comedy film per se. There is some comedy moments in it, largely due to Corey Yun's character. But Yuen Biao's character is largely quite straight. He is largely quite, he's serious, he's hard-edged. Gone are the comedic moments you'd get Yuen Biao usually doing if he was working with Jackie and Sammo. So Yuen Biao plays like a no-nonsense prosecutor who does everything by the books, right? And he starts with this, like, guys outside the courthouse. Yuen Biao is talking to his mentor outside, and he gets gunned down. So what you notice, this guy's shot to pieces. And as always with a lot of these films, the Hong Kong movies, the juxtaposition with the music and what actually you are seeing on screen doesn't always sort of gel really well. So here we just had like somebody get killed, but we also had this funky jazzy music going on at the same time. Then we have like a car chase ensues. Yuen shoots the car, big explosions. I mean, bearing in mind at this point the film had only been on for about 3 minutes. It's only been on for about 3 minutes so far. So straight away, Corey Yuen is like, let's get the film going. Here's your action. Let's get the film let's have a bit of an opening and get the film started. I do believe Yuen Biao did produce this as well, and would imagine handled most of, if not all, of the fight choreography, especially with people like him and Corey Yuen, who's an experienced choreographer in his own right behind the camera. I think largely probably them two who were calling the shots on the action choreography and the fight scenes. So we have Peter Cunningham here, who had worked with Corey Yuen on No Retreat, No Surrender as like an assassin who kills this guy and his family as they're like witnesses. We get a flashback of Yuen and this witness in question saying how much it would help the case if he did go forward with his evidence and things like that. So basically the whole premise of the film is Yuen Biao gets fed up, right? Yuen Biao gets fed up with the criminals getting away with everything. They're always sort of able to get away no matter what they do, like no matter what the law does. So Yuen does the whole taking the law into his own hands, and hence the term above the law, righting wrongs, whatever you want to call it. So this is the whole gimmick which Yuen Biao is following here. So we get some fantastic stunts in this movie from Biao, like he wires down the outside of a building. And knowing the Hong Kong film industry during this scene, there probably wasn't much in the way of sort of protection and stunts. I mean, I'm sure there was some, but it wouldn't have been nowhere near the extent of, say, sort of if it was like a Hollywood sort of A-list major production, studio production, I'm sure. But I doubt whether there would have been a huge amount of safety involved. As I say, I'm sure there was some. What I love about this film, though, as well, which really does stand out for me, is that it is so 80s. Everything about this movie just screams 80s, and it's no worse for that in anything. It just adds to the film. It just makes the film work so well. So Yuen Biao sort of abseils down after killing a guy and gets in his car. And it's always weird when you see Yuen Biao light up a cigarette. That's what's great. I mean, where he's playing a different character to what you're accustomed to. When you see Yuen Biao light up a cigarette, it just doesn't seem like Yuen Biao, but it's him just trying to get a different character across and playing a harder character than usual. We then get to see Cynthia Rothrock's character. It's like a mahjong club, a nice action scene here where she gets to show off her stuff. Melvin Wong here as our villain. Corey Yuen, the director here, he's actually in it, and with Wu Ma actually playing his dad. What's great with Cynthia Rothrock is Hong Kong industry, they saw the potential in Cynthia Rothrock. They obviously saw how talented she was. If you look at films like Yes Madam, this one, Millionaire's Express, Cynthia Rothrock was a great way. In some say it's a shame she never got big in the US, but I think it was sort of a good thing because Hong Kong saw her potential and she was allowed to look better and do better fight scenes and work with the real pioneers of the action, sort of kung fu martial arts genre. And this is why she was, like I say, they were more than happy to work with Cynthia. I mean, bearing in mind, she must have got on great with people because, I say, she worked in quite, a few Hong Kong productions. So she obviously, I say, especially for how talented she was, what a great performer she was, what a great martial artist she was. And Cynthia Rothrock in this is make no mistake, she kicks ass in this and she does an amazing, amazing performance. There are moments in the film where Yuen Biao does sort of disappear. If you think much along the lines, if you recall my Magnificent Butcher review, where Sammo's not in it all the way through, it's very much the same here. Yuen Biao is not necessarily in it the whole time. He does sort of disappear so they can make time for a few comedy moments, especially involving sort of Corey Yuen. He gets some screen time here, like for example when he's getting a parking ticket. We have probably a standout action scene in the movie where Yuen is sort of avoiding cars in the car park and they're sort of trying to run him down and he's sort of flipping off the cars, flipping off the beams in the ceiling. Really great stuff, any means necessary. Great camera angles that just ramp up the intensity the whole time. Yuen getting caught between the two bumpers, using the railings in the ceilings, which then in turns into a fight with baseball bats, and it's just great stuff. You know, it really is amazing stuff here from Yuen Biao. We learn that Melvin Wong's character is working both sides of the law, so we've got the whole corrupt cop, corrupt police chief thing going on here. It's, you know, somewhat generic, but it works. You know, it works with the film. But as I say, Melvin Wong is really, you can tell he's really actually taking it quite seriously. Like, he's really enjoying this role. It looks like he's really enjoying the part. He wouldn't have been out of place in like a James Bond sort of villain role. He's really got that sort of look about him. You can tell he's sort of enjoying being the baddie here, and he does, like I mentioned, I can't stress enough how brilliant he is in the role here as the antagonist. James Chen character, James Chen is in this again, so he's another one. Like, if I'm reviewing any Hong Kong film from the 80s, usually James Chen's name will crop up. Dick Wei's name usually will always crop up. Chong Fat, there's Billy Chow's another one. James Chen, especially sort of with mainly Sammo Hung productions, but here as well, James Chen is another one who was in a load of films. Most notably, of course, being in sort of the Bruce Lees, but in the 80s he really did come into his own here. So he gets stabbed in the head by Melvin Wong at one point, and when Yuen goes to his house and finds him murdered, this is where we have probably another, you know, one of the best fights in the movie between Cynthia and Yuen Biao, both getting to really show their stuff and really show them what they can do. She wants to arrest Yuen Biao, and Roy Chiao sort of backs her up and covers for him, sort of backs up Yuen Biao, she wants to arrest Yuen Biao because, like I say, he's gone above the law, so to speak, and Roy Chiao sort of backs up and covers Yuen Biao. So they're mainly concerns, like the plot then moves to this witness played by Louis Fan, who many you'll remember from like the Ip Man movie. Ip Man movies. He was also the lead in Ricky O's Story of Ricky. Another great fight scene here with Peter Cunningham and Yuen Biao, where Peter comes to assassinate him. And watch out, because Peter Cunningham actually gets clocked right round the face in a nice sort of up close shot, and he really does get whacked. He really does get completely punched right round the face. And the whole film is Yuen Biao trying to make things right, and Cynthia hot on his trail, and she is just following procedure. As I say, Melvin Wong is brilliant, and I do believe that Melvin Wong, because of his physique in this, he's quite muscly, he's quite built. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe he trained with Bolo Yeung to sort of get the physique he wanted to sort of fill out the role and to get ready for the role. I think Bolo Yeung was definitely involved with some of his training involved to getting his muscles a bit more ripped and a bit more pumped. We also get Karen Shepherd here in this movie, and that is what is great about this film. Corey was not against using Westerners in his movie. Karen Shepherd only has like a very brief moment, but she, you know, believe you me, she really does get her time to shine. She really does get to show her stuff. Watch out for the escalator jump as well, which I always, because I've seen this film quite a number of times during this scene. If you watch where jumps on the escalator is actually not moving. It's not like in Police Story where the actual escalator, for some reason in this film, they stop the escalator, obviously to make it a bit more safer, but it's only where I've seen the film so many times I noticed these little things. And what's as well, it's nice having a fight scene where it's not only two women fighting, it's two martial artists but Caucasian, white Western people fighting, in a Hong Kong flick no less. So it's a real novelty that Korean, he was allowing that to happen. He was trying to give the audience something new, something fresh, something different to what the local audience may have seen before. Wonderful performance from Yuen, as I say, throughout the film, but there's a great scene where he's talking about what is right, and when next to Manny's deathbed. Another great scene where Cynthia taking on the workers using power tools, hammers and wrenches and things like that. And what I love about this scene, it's so great seeing a woman like Cynthia Rothrock's character kick ass, like basically own these guys in sort of a quote unquote sort of male working environment. She really does own these guys completely. She really does mess them up in more ways than one. So she does all that, and then Melvin Wong comes along and sort of drills her right in the throat. So Cynthia actually dies, which I didn't see coming. I didn't think she was going to die. I thought she would be sort of her and Yuen Biao teaming up at the end or something like that. But yeah, they actually kill Cynthia off, which I did not see coming in a million years. I always remember when I watched this the first time, I thought, why have they killed her off? A bit like when they killed off Donnie Yen in the first Tiger Cage. It's like, why have you done that? You know, why have you done that? But like I say, it's a Yuen Biao film, and he's sort of the protagonist here. So the final fight of the film takes place in an airplane hangar, which is a great, and it adds something different to the movie. Gone are we like in a warehouse, a factory, a construction site. Let's set it in an airplane hangar. So it just gives it something a bit more, just something different, mixes things up a bit. And I think a few segments of the movie were actually filmed in New Zealand. And the lighting on the end fight is amazing, and a great showdown between Melvin and Yuen here. Yuen showing off some of his amazing kicks as he does always. Just really great kicker, Yuen Biao. Really amazing stuff, which really do need to be seen to be believed. I mean, the choreography is sharp, it's on point, it's focused, and it's just what you would expect from a Hong Kong action flick, and wonderfully directed and filmed and performed by Yuen Biao and directed by Corey Yuen. So Wong goes to escape, and Yuen jumps onto the wing and grabs onto one of the ropes so he can sort of hold onto this plane. In many ways, this stunt sort of foreshadowed what was happening, what Jackie Chan would later do in Police Story 3 Super Cop. It's still that same thing as like an aircraft, the guy hanging off from it, or a ladder or a piece of rope or whatever it may be. So it sort of foreshadows that a little bit, but I do believe Yuen Biao, I think he was more than up for doing the stunt. I think he was gonna do it. I think that was what was intended, but I think the policies or the regiments or the law or something with what was going on, he wasn't actually allowed to. He had to be sort of someone professional that actually done it. So Yuen Biao actually wasn't allowed to do that last stunt. As far as I know, anyway, I don't think he was allowed to. Whether the authorities wouldn't allow him to do it or something like that. And what I love about this film is they really do throw everything at the wall. They really do. Like I say, it's so 80s. It's so... there's so many great action set pieces in it. You know, you get assassins, car chases, stunts, the law, action, comedy. It really is everything just thrown at the wall, and it's handled really well. The film's not too long, and it's just a really great Hong Kong 80s action movie. And with an ensemble cast, like I say, Melvin, Wong, Yuen Biao, Cynthia, Rothrock, Chiao, Wu Ma, Corey Yuen, you've got a lot to enjoy here, believe you me. Karen Shepherd, you've got a lot to enjoy here. Very much, the ending as well plays very much the equivalent and rivals anything Hollywood were doing at the time in the 80s. It really does. I'd say it's fantastically lit, and it really is a great action scene. It holds its own against any sort of Hollywood A-list production that was going on at the time. Ends with like him killing Wong and jumping into the sea. I mean, this is a must-see Yuen Biao vehicle, Above the Law, Right and Wrongs. It's definitely one you've got to, out of all of Yuen Biao's solo films. Right and Wrongs should be high on your list of ones to check out, because it's a really good film. Along with films like I say, On the Run, which I've reviewed, Iceman Cometh. There is this final example that Yuen could really hold his own and was a bona fide action star and leading man in his own right. But hopefully they'll release. I'd love to see more Yuen Biao's released. There's still a lot of Yuen Biao's solo work. I'd love to get a proper release that I haven't seen since VHS of Kid from Tibet, his only directional debut. So there's quite a lot of Yuen Biao's that have not seen the light of day, sort of with Western audiences, but I mean, Right and Wrongs is no exception. It's definitely one worth checking out. And if you're only familiar with sort of Yuen Biao in sort of the Jackie Chan, Dragons Forever, Wheels on Mills type films, make sure to check out Right and Wrongs, because it's a fantastic action film. So thank you very much indeed for watching. I hope you enjoyed the review. I'll see you soon.